A real fast video, hopefully not more than 15 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes, okay? So Islam and Shalom to all of the Moors. All right. So this is Taurus and the light. We're still in the gospel, the zodiac and the gospels, all right? The secret truth about JC. The link to the free PDF is in the description area at the of this video. All right, so we are on page 77, Taurus and the light. The parable of the light under a bushel, which follows the sower, does not have the Taurian imagery of growth and productivity, except in rather a oblique sense. But it is related to Taurus nonetheless, because in addition to its association with the earth and with agriculture, Taurus was always considered by the ancients to be connected with light. Alice Bailey writes, so now, make a connection here. JC says he's the truth and the light, all right? Astrologically speaking, or astrotheologically speaking, there's a battle between the light, which is truth, and darkness, which is evil, right? Why do we say this? Because every day the sun comes up as baby horse, comes up as a mature, reaches its peak as a mature man, and then it goes away as an old man, goes away on the clouds, right? And the dark time takes over. So there's an imbalance between the number of daylight hours and nighttime hours. It's only balanced at the equinoxes, okay? It's only balanced at the spring and fall equinoxes, all right? These are metaphorically represented by the truth and the light and darkness, the prince of darkness. Put a D on evil, you get devil, okay? Now, Taurus is associated with the light, illumination. So let's see where this is going. Now, this is something different than the religious concept of a JC Christ figure, all right? Make that clear. This is truth and the light, which JC represents symbolically. Y'all got that? Taurus was always considered by the ancients to be connected with light. Now, since we know this, let's assume that this is true. Now, this can be the platform that we work with, the platform in nature, light, truth, as opposed to corporation and efficiency that the author talked about. Remember that? Go back and watch the Taurus in the Gospels, number 5. I think this is number 6, but the video before this, the video lesson before this, go back and watch that. You'll see what I'm talking about. So this may be what we need to work from. It continues. Alice Bailey writes, light, illumination, and sound as an expression of the creative force. These are the three basic ideas connected with this constellation. So that's Taurus. So here we are. This can be our platform in nature. All right? Light, illumination. So light as in physical light rays, illumination as in knowledge, right? And truth, and sound as in vibration. You can remember this by, for example, vibrations that heal. All right? Vibrations that heal, or healing sounds. As an expression of the creative force, okay? All right? These are the three basic ideas connected with Taurus. The interpreter of the divine voice, as Taurus was called in ancient Egypt. Now, isn't that interesting? Taurus is called the divine voice. So voices, that would be what? You're hearing what? Words. All right, in the beginning was the Word, etc., etc., etc. Make the connection, scholars. Can be paraphrased into Christian terminology and called, well, here it is, quote, the Word made flesh, end quote. So here we see this Egyptian concept being adopted or lifted and placed into Christianity. And how many of y'all knew that? Taurus, in ancient Egyptian, is the interpreter of the divine voice. Taurus is the interpreter of the divine voice. As Taurus was called in ancient Egypt, can be paraphrased. Now, do y'all agree with this? Interpreter of the divine voice is the same thing as saying the Word made flesh. I would agree that those are two equivalent statements. The Word made flesh is, in my opinion, a paraphrase of interpreter, right? Interpreter, that means it's a fleshly person interpreting of the divine voice, and voices speak words, the Word made flesh. All right? It is an interesting sidelight on the power of the zodiacal influences to recall that the bull's-eye lantern can be traced back to the bull's eye in Taurus, okay? And the pontifical bull, or the papal annunciations, right? The papal bulls, very interesting. The papal bulls, Taurus. Now we understand why they call them the papal bulls. Note that there is power in language, there is power in imagery, there's power in symbols. And we see here the Catholic Church capitalizing off of, or let me repeat that, creating symbolism and meaning to harness power to support their ends. Papal bulls, okay? All right. Papal bulls are their policies, their laws, okay? It is an interesting sidelight on the power of the zodiacal influences to recall that the bull's eye lantern can be traced back to the bull's eye in Taurus, and the pontifical bull, or the papal annunciations, which were regarded as interpreters of the deity's voice. Y'all got that? All right. The doctrine of discovery is an interpreter, or is the Pope interpreting the deity's voice? In other words, the Pope is what? The word escapes me now. Hold on. The vicar of Christ, the representative of Christ on earth. So here we see symmetry with that, right? All right, we see how this is connected. All astrological. All right. Let's continue. The papal annunciations, which were regarded as interpreters of the deity's voice, capital God's voice, that's Zeus, that's Isis, that's JC, the Christ figure, also Apollo and Jupiter, etc., is a term in common usage today. The consummation of the work that is undertaken in Taurus and the result of Taurinian influence, note this, is the glorification of matter and subsequent illumination through its medium. This is Bailey, published in 1974, page 44 and 45. So here we see the Catholic Church harnessing and utilizing power behind its policy to conquer and enslave in perpetuity, that means forever, all of the Moors. Okay, so this takes us to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 68. which are the curses. This takes us into SG. This takes us into bills of attainder. All right, also the black codes, etc., in the many forms that all of these things take. All right, y'all? All right? It also takes us into what? Loss of status. Loss of your Genesis chapter 2 status. Loss of nationality. Loss of the ability to inherit. All of this is right there. All right? So now do y'all see why they feel like they're doing, quote unquote, God's work? For the mystic, the material world is neither an idol to be worshipped, nor a distraction to be despised. It is instead the very vehicle of our enlightenment. The material. Now, why is the material world the vehicle of our enlightenment? Because you need to observe it. That's why. Simple, right? You observe the material world, and through your observation, you can learn the laws and the principles that govern the material world. And you can extrapolate that into commerce and consciousness. Those principles or laws that govern consciousness and commerce. Okay? Human behavior, etc. All right, let's continue. It isn't, okay, but the key point here is that it is not to be worshipped nor despised. Now remember, in the other pages, the religionists that we read, they were saying that the material world is something that's a trap. And it can severely hinder your spiritual progress and all of this other garbage. All right, y'all remember that? Okay. So here we see that it is neither good nor bad. Let me repeat that. It's neither good nor bad. The man or the woman is either higher self or lower self. Okay, and you use that material wealth or object in such a way that reflects who you are and what you're trying to do. So it's you who makes it evil. You're the devil, or you're the higher self person, that illuminated person, all right? You are the truth and the light, or you're the prince of darkness, Satan the devil, period. There's a constant battle in you. There's a constant battle in you. What? That constant battle in you is what? That battle to do what's right in your eyes, or to do wrong, like Paul said. What he knows that's right to do, he don't do it. And there's a battle inside of him, etc., on that line. I don't want to keep going further into that. All right, now let's continue. It is instead the very vehicle of our enlightenment. This is the material world he's talking about. In the words of Jared Manley Hopkins, the world is charged with the grandeur of the deity. It will flame out like shining from the shook foil. Now, I'm not sure. I would need to give that some thought, so I'm going to walk past that. Hopkins' fellow Jesuit, Teilhard de Chardin, echoes these statements. So now when you see a Jesuit, you should put your steel helmet on and your bulletproof vest. And bob and weave and keep your right hand up. And that's for real. Y'all know who the Jesuits are and what they do and how they feel about you. All right? Now remember, y'all, for them, it's actually a holy war. And you ain't supposed to know that you're being warred against. Right? To make you a sitting duck, a baby. A junior high school student trying to play with the NBA pros, or worse than that, trying to play in the NFL. That's what it really is right now. All right, that's what it really is. Throughout my whole life, during every moment I have lived, the world has gradually been taking on light and fire for me until it has come to envelop me in one mass of luminosity. Now remember, fire is representing the sun also, right? Light is intellectual understanding of the sciences, okay? Fire represented here has to do with deity and also what? I'll come back to it. I was thinking of the astrological age. But anyway, let's continue. Okay, flowing from within, the purple flush of matter, fading imperceptibly into the gold of spirit, to be lost finally in the incandescence of a personal universe. Gold of spirit, might that be the gold, the sun, right? Might that be the gold of spirit? I have no idea what he's talking about. To be lost finally in the incandescence of the personal universe as opposed to an impersonal universe, a personal deity as opposed to an impersonal deity. And y'all should know that way back in ancient times, people looked at the universe as being the creator. All right, so that would mean the planets, the stars, and the ethers. All right, the universe itself in ancient times was said to be the creator. Okay? All right. And actually not so ancient after all. Okay? It only changed actually very recently. Okay? Very recently. Okay, let's continue. This is what I have learned from my contact with the earth, the diaphany of the divine at the heart of the glowing universe, the divine radiating from the depths of matter aflame. This is Teilhard de Chardin, page 13. So basically the creator is the universe, to put it simply. At least that's how I'm understanding that now. We'll come back to it. Let me see how long we've been going. I only want this to go 20 minutes or so. So we'll go another 2 minutes, all right? The light which breaks through the material world and leads us to enlightenment provides the mystical connection between Taurus and light. But there is a more obvious astrological one. In and around the constellation are some of the most spectacular sights in the night sky. In Acadia, Taurus was known as the bull of light, and Orion, one of the deacons of Taurus. Okay, so Orion is one of the deacons of Taurus. Okay, quote, admired in all historical ages as the most strikingly brilliant of the stellar groups. This is Allen, page 303. All right, derives its name from the Akkadian Uru-Ana, which means the light of heaven. And Seiss says that the name means, quote, he who cometh forth as light, the brilliant, the swift. Seiss, page 105. It is one of the most easily recognized sights in the heavens, and its clarity and brilliance were the basis of Gerald Manley's Hopkins metaphor, quote, for thou art above, thou Orion of light, end quote, in his poem, The Wreck of the Deutschland. The Aldebaran, one of the most brilliant stars in Taurus, wow, Aldebaran is here too, and principal stars of Hades or Hyades group, situated in the quote-unquote eye of the bull, was called by Ptolemy a lamp. So this is where the concept of the bull's eye and the papal bull has its physical reference to, okay? All right? Aldebaran, okay? The bullseye was called by Ptolemy Lampadius the torch. Venus, the ruler of Taurus, and the most brilliant sight in the evening and morning sky after the moon, was called by the Greeks Phos, which means light, and by the Romans Lucifer. So here we are, here's a connection to the Christ. All right? Lucifer, the light bearer. To the ancient occultists, Venus was the planet of inner light illumination. Now look at figure 9. The Nebra disk dating from around 1600 BCE. The Pleiades are at the top right. So y'all take a look at this. All right, so now we see how that references back to the Christ. All right, y'all. Islam to all the Moors. I'm DrYasapa. Be sure to support my project to write the book of the law in Ibaryath and in English, and to remove all of the deceit, lies, and deception, so that I can highlight the natural law principles and you can see what the book of the law actually says, right? What our ancestors actually wrote. Islam. Shalom.